Greetings Internet, and welcome back to the next episode of Putting Shells on Shelves. Yes indeedy, that show where I talk about vintage action figures because, well, what else am I going to do with my Sunday morning? Okay, so with that said, let's see, if it wasn't already obvious from the title down below, today's episode we're going to be focusing on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Talkin' Turtles from 1991. Yes, friends and family and all other people on the internet, we're talking about those little pieces of plastic. But here's the thing. Now, in this modern day and age, when you think of a talking toy, you're thinking like, you gotta put batteries in it, and then you gotta, like, put the battery cover back on it, and you push a button and it says something like, cowabunga or something. Back in the ye olde days of the 90s and the 80s, they didn't have toys that were just specifically battery operated, to speak. Now, they've existed for a long time, but they also had toys that had, like, say, an old-fashioned mechanical, like, record player, if you will, built into them. Case in point, to any of you who may be familiar with my Oktoberfest videos from last year, y'all remember Freddy. And Freddy is a pull-string talking toy. So what happens with this kind of a mechanism is you pull the string out, and there's a little voice box on the inside of this doll that when the string is pulled, a little metal coil, a spring if you will, is wound up tight, and then when you release it, that spring uncoils itself, relaxes, and as it relaxes, there's a little itty-bitty teeny tiny record inside of here, and the mechanism plays that record to make him say things such as stuff like that. So, using that kind of technology, or at least they attempted to use that kind of technology in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures. But, given the size of these little things, that basically was not an option, being able to put a mechanism like that into an itty-bitty little piece of plastic like this. So what they decided to do instead was essentially make custom zip ties, like little thin strips of plastic, and you would feed the strip through, I don't know how well y'all can see it, but there we go, that little bitty rectangular hole right here. Get that as close to the camera. There you go. You would feed that through this big mesh backpack, this sewer lid. And if you listen, it's got kind of a, right there. Did you hear that ring kind of sound? There is a little mechanism inside here that kind of replicates the record player like in Freddy over there. So what you would do is you would take that strip and you would put it through that hole, and as you would get it out the other side and you would pull it, when you pull it they would say different phrases, or it would mimic that they were saying different phrases, although I will be honest with you, the phrases sound more like a toddler with a head cold trying to say like "Cowabunga." Like they would say stuff like "Cowabunga, Cowabunga," and stuff like that, but it was just like zip 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 zip. And well, unfortunately, because those little strips of plastic were very thin, and they were made out of, I think, vinyl, they get pretty brittle over the years. And because these are toys marketed to little kids, or at least they were back in the day, not a lot of those strips still exist, loose. Like, they would get the toy, and it would come with a couple of quip strips, as they were referred to on the packaging back in the day, and those things would just get ruined pretty quickly. Like, say, if the strip got stuck in there, or like, say, the kid didn't line it up right, and they would just, like, keep jamming it in there until it broke off. So, I do have a couple of strips for these, but they are in pieces. So, unfortunately, we're not going to get to hear any of these figures say anything because, well, the strips I have were ruined long ago. But I still have them as part of my collection. Someday I hope to actually get a set of strips that are in good shape, but they are pretty expensive because they are pretty hard to find in good shape, and thus that's probably not going to be happening, especially with the prices that Ninja Turtle figures in general are starting to get these days. Regardless, we're not here to talk about downer things like that. We're here to talk about cool little pieces of plastic like this. So they only made the 4 turtles. There was no Shredder, there was no Talkin Splinter in this set, no Talkin Bebop Rocksteady or any of the other figures, or characters I should say. But they did have the turtles. So you had in the original lineup your Leonardo, your Michelangelo, your Donatello, and of course, you can't have those 3 brothers without Raphael. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to talk about with these figures without the quip strips. But, yeah, the face sculpts look really cool. The torso is basically your typical Ninja Turtle torso. I think that they might have borrowed the torso design from the Storage Shell Turtles. I can't confirm that because, well, the only way to actually check and make sure if that's actually true would be to rip off the backpack, and I'm not doing that. It took me a long time to get a hold of the full set of these, and I'm not going to go ruining them now. If I had maybe like a broken one, like at one point in time I did have a busted Donatello, and that was because when I got him, I didn't know how these things actually worked. I just knew that they were the Talkin turtles, and I was like, so how do thing work? So I took out all the screws and took off the back of the backpack, found out about that little diaphragm, is what they refer to it as, the cone that projects the voice out of the back of the turtle. And then I took a zip tie, a regular zip tie, because I found out that the quip strips were literally just little bitty strips of plastic with little raised bumps on it to make it go like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, if I can find a zip tie small enough, I can make this thing talk. Because I was that kind of an idiot back then. And, well, I ruined that Donatello. But he was basically ruined anyway, because if you notice, there's these little square rectangular things on the side. Let me see if I can't get my finger behind it so you can see it better. That thing, the one that I had, one of those was snapped off entirely, so I could have used that one and pried off the speaker, but again, it was the only one I had at the time and I wasn't even thinking about that at the time, so we'll never know unless one of you one of you kind people out there wants to do that very experiment for yourself. I personally, I'm not going to do it. But anyway, so the main thing to talk about with these figures are the head sculpts and the accessories. But most of mine are incomplete, and the accessories that I do have, most of them are still packed away in a box in that closet over there, which is pretty full, so regretfully for this video, I'm not going to go digging around in there. Sorry, I might do that for a later video, but for this one, this is what you get, the figures as they were sitting on my shelf. So each of the 4 brothers was supposed to come with one of these pieces of plastic, which is shaped like a snake. It's just like bent at an angle and has a flag stuck to it, as evidenced by the fact that Michelangelo has one just like Raphael's. They were obviously supposed to come in the corresponding colors for each of the turtles, like obviously red for Raph, orange for Mikey. There would have been a blue one for Leonardo and a purple one for Donatello, but I'm missing those pieces for these two. And also, they came with other kind of fun little accessories, like how Raphael here has a boxing glove gun. Not sure the particular reasoning for that, but he has one. And Donatello has kind of a bow staff that doubles as a wind turbine, I think. I would have to go back and double check that. And yeah, the head sculpts, though, that's where it's at with these figures. Like, you know how the standard Ninja Turtle has kind of that grimacing face going on, like, "Argh." Well, these turtles have their mouths wide open, like Leonardo here. I will admit he looks like he's about to be sick, or like he just stepped in something that he shouldn't have, and he's like, ah. Or he's just in pain. I gotta say, these, like Michelangelo here, looks like he's just laughing like, but like, say, the Raphael, he's like, hey, what you got going there? Well, I'm gonna put the stop to that with this here boxing glove thing. I know that's not how Raphael talks, but that's the voice that came out of my mouth. Yeah, pow, pow, pow. And Donatello, aside from Leonardo, looks the most disgusted out of the three of them. It's like he just took a bite of moldy pizza and was just like, ugh. But, yes, let's see. What else can I talk about these four? There's not really any variants that I'm well aware of for these ones. They were only released the one time, to my knowledge. One little story I have about this Leonardo, though, is I couldn't find this little sucker for the longest time. The first one I got, like I was saying, was a Donatello, but he was all beaten up and I kind of made him worse. Then I believe the second one I got was a Raphael, but it wasn't this one. He was in worse shape. And then I managed to get these three, thanks to a very, very kind family friend who just had a box of these things up in their attic after their son moved out of their house. And then, finally, thanks to that big, tremendous score of Ninja Turtle figures that I got in this lot right up here, hopefully the video's still there, I was able to, after years of searching, get my hands on this guy. Now, I did technically have a part of this guy at one point, because I was taking a walk with my sister and her dog, and while we were walking around the block, there was a house on the corner where someone, I don't know what went on in this house, but just there was always something random and vintage in their yard. Like, one time I found a gray NES zapper. Someone had like sliced the cord off of it, so it was just the gun itself. Another time there were PlayStation 1 discs, like just the discs for the game scattered around their yard, across the pavement, and over into the neighbor's driveway. And one day, as my sister and I were walking along, I found, I believe it was the left leg of this guy, just laying out on the very edge of their grass, with a big slice in the side of it, like some kid was playing with it, left it out in the yard, and someone ran it over with a lawnmower. But that was the only piece I found, was just that one leg. I think I still have that around here somewhere. I just, I don't know what to do with it. Do I throw it away? I don't want to do that because it's a Ninja Turtles thing. Do I give it away? Do I try and sell it? How do you sell a sliced up, battered Ninja Turtle leg, you know? But, yeah. So that was how I got the first piece of this figure, and then I got a whole entire second figure, a whole entire figure, and I don't need that piece anymore. So, there you go. But like I said, there's really not a whole lot to talk about with these figures without the quip strips. And as you can see, unfortunately, I'm missing a bunch of accessories. If memory serves me correctly, Raphael here is the most complete of the four brothers that I currently own. And this Leonardo, that's about it. Other than that spare leg, he, didn't come with any accessories when I picked him up. But, yeah, there you go. So with that said, if you're still watching at this point, I'm very grateful, but I know this one wasn't my most entertaining putting shelves on shelves video. Regardless, I do truly and greatly appreciate it that you've stuck around this long, and if you have, put the word leg in the comments section down below. Now then, with that said, if you've liked what you've seen here today, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that little bell icon to be notified of future uploads once you are subscribed. You'll be glad you did. Feel free to share my videos with your friends if you think they'll like them. And if you're not sure, share it anyway. You could be surprised. And with all of that out of the way, this is your old buddy Oxleymations saying, Cowabunga, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Later.